Get out!
13 strongest and most deadly Wolverine's villains. Logan, aka Wolverine from the Marvel Comics, has always been one of our favorite X-Men characters. The character had a massive rise in its fan base after Hugh Jackman took up the role for the live-action version of Wolverine. His rapid healing abilities and his adamantium-infused skeletal system make him almost invincible. He has been living for many years but does not seem to age because of his regenerative powers. He had his share of tragedy and had his memories wiped off many times. Throughout these years of his life, he fought several enemies and villains, some of which were equally strong or even more powerful than him. All of these fierce combats were sometimes under the Weapon X program or a part of his life. And in today's video, we will be talking about the deadly and strong villains he had faced in the comics. So without further delay, let us dive into today's video of the 15 strongest and deadly Wolverine's villains. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Wolverine has brought allies.
Omega Red. Created by John Byrne and Jim Lee, Arcady, also known as Omega Red, first appeared in X-Men Volume 2, Issue 4, published in November 1991. Russian mutant Arcady terrified his parents and brother Vasily even before gaining his mutation. The slaughter of animals and the vanishing of local beggars were the first signs of Arcady's bloodlust. Vasily eventually turned on Arcady later. He served in the Russian army and was assigned to the GRU Spetsnaz. Despite serving in the military, he continued to commit crimes. He began to kidnap and murder young children, particularly young females. His atrocities were unreported until he was relocated to a Soviet outpost near the Antarctic Circle, where other Russian soldiers discovered the abduction and killing of many youngsters. He was sentenced to death by the Red Army once his crimes were discovered. Still, his latent mutant abilities rescued him, prompting his superiors to recruit him for their super soldier program. When Arcady used his death factor on Cassidy's companion, Inspector Marguerite Devereaux, by murdering her, Cassidy was compelled to act. Even though Arcady survived the attack, Cassidy apprehended him and handed him over to the authorities. Eric Lenchner became aware of his misdeeds and resolved to assist Sean Cassidy, a young Interpol agent who turned rogue, when the Soviet Union urged Interpol to abandon the case. Arcady's active participation in the Russian super soldier program began at this point. Arcady had gotten into the clutches of a special interest group, unbeknownst to the investigator who assumed he'd been sent to prison. He employed the tentacles as weapons and clutching appendages to drain people's life energy. Over the years, Omega Red looked for Wolverine, Sabretooth, and Maverick, believing they could have the carbonadium synthesizer taken by Team X. The Soviet authorities implanted many cybernetic modifications and one extendable carbonadium tentacle in each of his arms to make him far more powerful. Omega Red was unfazed, wrapping Kestrel, aka Major Cybaltan, from the Strike Force in his coils and attempting to tear him apart, but Kestrel succeeded in teleporting away from the scene. Omega Red fought Wolverine in a secret facility in Berlin for 17 hours under the supervision of Dr. Abraham Cornelius, Matsuo Tsurayaba, and the Fenris twins. They monitored the entire fight to test Omega Red's stamina. At the end of the fight, Wolverine was rendered unconscious. Omega Red is a mutant with superhuman abilities who underwent enhancement treatments at the hands of the Soviet Union in the 1960s. Omega Red's body can generate fatal pheromones. Anyone in his vicinity becomes weak or dies as a result of these spores. The degree of the effect is determined by the victim's endurance, health, and closeness. Normal humans can be killed or disabled in seconds, while a person with extremely fast healing abilities and physical stamina can withstand exposure for minutes or hours. Arcady's spores have the potential to cover the whole planet if he can get to a high enough orbital height first. Omega Red must emit his pheromones or his own body would deteriorate. Arcady was discovered to have stronger and more lethal spores coursing continually through his tentacles after his most recent resurrection. and he has ceased dispersing it as a pheromone. This was mostly used as a backup in case his tentacles were ever severed, which happened rather frequently. Omega Red can and must suck the life power of other humans to keep himself alive. He accomplishes this by entangling his victims in his tentacles and using them as a channel for his death factor. His death factor, combined with the presence of carbonadium in his body, slowly poisons him, requiring him to drain life energies regularly. He becomes stronger and recovers faster as he sucks more life power. Omega Red has superhuman strength and can routinely lift roughly 10 tons. Arcady was found to have received additional talents after his resuscitation, including the capacity to grow his body bulk as he absorbed energy. Arcady was proven to be capable of lifting 50 tons after absorbing the life force of a strong unknown mutant. His full strength is theoretically boundless. Omega Red's muscles produce far less tiredness poisons than the muscles of an average person. He can push himself at maximum capacity for approximately a day before exhaustion affects him. He may, however, use the energy he takes from others to boost his stamina yet further. Omega Red is clad in bright red armor made of a substance thought to be secondary impenetrable armor. This armor, which covers most of Omega Red's body, makes him very damage resistant. He once survived an energy burst from the mutant chamber that launched him many kilometers without causing him any harm. Omega Red's body, even without the armor, can survive massive impact forces and brutal trauma, such as falling from many stories or being repeatedly assaulted by superhumanly strong opponents that would seriously hurt or kill a regular person with little to no discomfort. Omega Red's innate agility, body coordination, and balance have been increased beyond the normal physical limits of the best human athlete. Absorbing the life power of foes greatly boosts his agility. Omega Red's reflexes have been upgraded to the point that they are superior to those of the best human athletes. Absorbing the life power of adversaries rapidly boosts his reflexes. Omega Red can recover at a considerably faster rate than normal humans. He has demonstrated the ability to repair serious cuts and puncture wounds in a couple of minutes. He may, however, take the energy he sucks from others to boost his healing abilities to new heights. Arcady was revealed to be capable of recovering from even deadly injuries practically instantaneously after his resurrection when adequately charged. His healing factor also appears to focus on his tentacles and armor, hinting that they have become integrated with his body. Silver Samurai. Kinuchiyo Harada was a hybrid and the illegitimate son of Shinjin Harada, the previous chief of the clan Yashida in Japan. As a child, Harada learned the medieval samurai's accompanying disciplines and sought work as a hired fighter. Created by Steve Gerber and William Robert Brown, the character first appeared in 1974 in Daredevil Comics issue 111. He began his career working for the villain Mandrill when he met the blind hero Daredevil. Harada then became her bodyguard, Viper, a member of the terrorist group Hydra. On the original S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, he faced Spider-Man, Nick Fury, Shang-Chi, and Black Widow. Following his father's death, Harada claimed the sovereignty of Shingen's clan Yashida from his half-sister Mariko Yashida. Still, Ronin, Yukio, and Mariko's boyfriend, the mutant adventurer Wolverine, stood in his way. Later, Harada collaborated with Wolverine to liberate Jessica Drew, an American private investigator, from the grip of the Black Blade of Muramasa, a blade mystically endowed with its creator's lunacy. Wolverine was possessed by the sword but was able to free himself, following which Harada took up the sword and proved himself worthy of its power. Harada took control of Clan Yashida after Mariko's death. When the Red Right Hand banished Wolverine to hell, they also dispatched an army to murder his pals, and one of them was Harada. Harada knelt, his armor pierced by darts, as the Yashida stronghold blazed behind him. He was stabbed. He died limping to his sister Mariko Yashida's cemetery. In hell, he was taken before Logan and the Devil. With a soul cutter, the Devil took off Harada's head and then sliced up his body. The soul cutter's wounds could never be healed. His body can produce a tachyon energy field. He can focus this energy on anything, although he usually does so with his sword, cutting through practically any substance. The Silver Samurai is a specialist in Bushido, the history and rituals of the samurai class, and Kenjutsu, the skill of wielding a katana. He's also an extremely competent grandmaster of Japanese martial arts like Jujutsu and Aikijujutsu, Karate-do, Bujutsu, Kenjutsu, Laijutsu, Tantojutsu, Ninjutsu, Kyujutsu, Bajutsu, and Samurai Tactics and Strategy, though his skills don't quite match those of Iron Fist or Shang-Chi, even though both are skilled in Chinese martial arts. Sabretooth. Victor Creed, aka Sabretooth, first appeared in Iron Fist number 14 and is considered to be Wolverine's arch-nemesis. The character was created by writer Chris Claremont and artist co-writer John Byrne and had similar abilities and instincts to Wolverine. Victor Creed unintentionally murdered his sibling over a slice of pie when his mutation first emerged as a kid. Victor's father imprisoned him in a dungeon and pulled out his devil teeth one by one to rid him of his demons. Victor had been shackled like an animal in the family basement for years until he bit off his hand to break free, murdering his father. He, however, spared his mother and ensured she lived a luxurious life until she was stricken with cancer and confined to a hospital, where she was murdered by a member of the Red Right Hand. Victor was let free from his parents and thrust into society. He allegedly went on a rampage through 3 Canadian provinces at 13, killing at least 3 police officers. According to Creed, he stayed in Canada and began working on the railroad at the age of 15, laying track from Calgary to the Yukon. An obnoxious older man in the queue enjoyed picking on the adolescent Creed. Even though the man had 100 pounds on him, Creed gutted him with his claws from groin to Adam's apple. Claudia Russell, one of the Institute's physicians, could release Logan and save him, but Victor attacked them on their way out. Victor removed the unconscious Logan from the killing site and drove him to the Ravencroft Institute in Westchester County, where he was employed as Nathaniel Essex's assistant before the cops arrived. Victor tossed Logan out the door and faced Claudia, but Logan's healing factor kicked in and began to mend his brain, bringing him out of his coma. Claudia was later experimented on by Victor and Essex, who murdered her as a werewolf. Victor, now known as Sabretooth, is said to have joined the mysterious Romulus group and relocated to Tokyo, Japan, where he slaughtered many women. But he ran across Logan again one night during one of his rampages. Sabretooth followed Logan to a frontier village in the Canadian Rockies on Romulus's orders. He violently attacked Logan's lover, Silver Fox, there. Victor's first of many birthday surprises was to rape her and leave her for dead. Logan, enraged, confronted Sabretooth in a bar, only to lose. Sabretooth then duped a rabid, uncaring Logan into believing that the residents of a nearby town had ordered Silver Fox's killing. This spurred Logan to massacre the town's residents, convincing him that the locals are terrified of you and don't want you around, so they took away the one thing holding you here. Sabretooth is a mutant who has had many artificial improvements applied to him by different benefactors. He was designated as a severe threat by the One. Sabretooth's major mutant ability is fast healing, which allows him to recover most injured or destroyed sections of his anatomy considerably more quickly than a normal human. The pace of recovery is related to the amount of harm done. This is an automated procedure over which Sabretooth appears to have no influence. On the other hand, Sabretooth does not appear to be immune to the agony of his wounds or the discomfort of his body renewing. Sabretooth's innate healing also grants him immunity to toxins, infections, illnesses, and most medications. Sabretooth is immune to some of the fatigue toxins created by physical effort. Sabretooth's healing factor also gives him a longer lifetime by reducing the effects of age. Sabretooth was born in the late 1800s. Sabretooth possesses superhuman senses of sight, hearing, smell, and taste, but it's unclear whether his sense of touch has been enhanced. These sensors enable him to track prey in the same way dogs do. Sabretooth's claws are on his fingers and toes, and they could pierce most flesh and many natural materials even before they were infused with adamantium. After enhancement, his bones become unbreakable, and his claws can rip through any substance. Sabretooth has canine teeth capable of eating through materials as tough as bone. Sabretooth has been trained by several groups and is an exceptional hand-to-hand warrior despite being over 100 years old. Creed was taught by the CIA, Weapon X, Hydra, and the Foreigner to become a highly competent soldier and warrior with mastery in many combat disciplines. Romulus, according to himself, was born in the prehistoric period as a lupine, a tribe of wild humans said to have originated from dogs, rather than apes, by the Black Panther. Created by Daniel Way, Scott Eaton, Jep Loeb, and Simon Bianchi, the character appeared in stages in the comics. First in Wolverine Origins Issue 2, which was published in May 2006, where only his voice was heard. 3 months later, he appeared as a shadowy figure in Wolverine Origins Issue 5, and finally in Issue 55, we got to see the character for the first time. For generations, Romulus had been influencing people from his family's bloodline, and Nick Fury confessed to Wolverine that he meant for Daken to become the next generation Weapon X. The Tinkerer was responsible for this since he fused the metal from the Muramasa blade to Daken's inner claws. Daken suggested that he followed the procedure to further his personal goals. Romulus increased Wildchild's power substantially, ordered the fusing of Cyber's skin with adamantium, and supplanted Sabretooth with a Feral State clone, which Wolverine subsequently slew. Moments after Wolverine killed Omega Red with a Muramasa blade, Romulus appeared in front of Logan, looking ready to fight. Romulus uses his mental skills to construct a lifelike illusion of his wife, Itsu, in order to distract Wolverine before assaulting him with a phony clawed gauntlet. Wolverine overcame Romulus by lacing his own bones with adamantium, indicating that Wolverine was the original creator of the Weapon X. Logan later on discovered that Romulus's master plan was for Logan and Daken to battle to the death to determine who would succeed Romulus at the top of the food chain. Romulus is the first example of Lupus sapiens, a long-extinct species descended from wolves rather than apes. Romulus possesses several superhuman abilities. Romulus has a rapid healing factor that allows him to fully rebuild injured or damaged body tissues and or cells at a far faster pace than regular people. Although the exact extent of Romulus's healing abilities is unknown, the pace and efficiency with which he heals appear to be dependent on the severity of the damage. Romulus's healing abilities grant him the resilience to medications and toxins and immunity to common ailments. His regenerative factor allows him to live longer than a typical person by reducing the symptoms of aging. Romulus claims to have been living since primordial times, while Remus, his twin sister, has proven that he is just a few thousand years old. While he shows indications of age, such as his hair going nearly totally white from black, Romulus retains his physical energy and looks. Romulus has the ability to travel at near superhuman speeds. He can attack quicker than the human eye can follow and can easily keep up with Wolverine. His fighting speed appears to be boosted beyond everyone else, as he has regularly caught up with other foes in combat and blitzed them before they could draw the trigger. Romulus's bone structure is very dense. Additionally, his skin and muscular tissues have been enhanced to far stronger and tougher levels than those of a typical person, and they are extremely resistant to harm. Romulus has superhumanly sensitive senses akin to those of some animals. He can see more clearly and across longer distances than a normal person. His eyesight extends into the ultraviolet and infrared spectrums, enabling him to see in near total darkness, while maintaining the same level of clarity. His hearing has also improved, allowing him to perceive sounds that conventional humans cannot, and from larger distances. Romulus also has a highly developed sense of smell. Even if persons and stuff are securely hidden, he can distinguish them by scent. He can follow a target by scent even if the scent has been substantially destroyed by time and environmental circumstances. Romulus can also detect falsehoods by his acute sense of smell owing to chemical changes in a person's aroma. Daken. After a short cameo in Wolverine Origins Issue 5, Daken made his first proper appearance in Issue 10 of the same comic series in January 2007. Created by Daniel Way and Steve Dillon, Akihiro, aka Daken, is one of the only 3 surviving sons of Wolverine. After Arista of the Savage Lands Tribe of Fire and Rays Darkholm, Wolverine and his Japanese wife Itsu had a son named Akihiro. Itsu was assassinated by the Winter Soldier in 1946, while she was in the last stages of her pregnancy, in an attempt to pull Wolverine out and return him to Madripoor's case. Romulus grabbed the kid when Itsu died, ripping him from his mother's womb and leaving her body there. The infant survived the event because of his mutant healing factor, which he received from his father. Romulus abandoned the child in the doorway of Akihira and Natsumi, a prosperous, youthful, and traditional Japanese couple. They saw the child's appearance as a sign from God and they reared him as their own. Despite his father's name being given, Akihiro, the boy's servants and other local households referred to him as Daken. Akihiro's pheromone abilities began to appear when he was a toddler, and he faced difficulty controlling his powers and mood swings from his mother, Natsumi, confessed to Akihira that she did not love Akihiro the way she did and felt it to be more like a curse. She also told him that she is expecting. Daken hears the conversation and feels his security in the house threatened. When Akihira learned that his adopted son disowned the name given to him, he furiously took him to the nearby woods and asked him to leave their house forever. In a heated argument, Akihira attempted to murder him with a bayonet of a rifle when Daken's claws automatically extended in response to the attack, and he accidentally sliced his mother in the chest with a flail of his arm. Romulus then came to the youngster for the first time since childhood, telling him that he was the future Daken. After Wolverine was kidnapped by S.H.I.E.L.D., Daken disguised himself as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and met Wolverine face-to-face for the first time in modern times. Before facing his jailed father, he stabbed a Dum Dum Dugan LMD. He judged him weak and cut him across the stomach, momentarily killing him and leaving him to bleed on the floor, just like his mother had done many years ago. Daken's actions also assisted his father in eluding S.H.I.E.L.D. Although not in a good way, Daken tricked his father into a bank vault with a carbonadium synthesizer where he battled Wolverine. Daken was tormented by his cousin Victor Hudson with a gasoline-soaked rope during a rail journey across Eastern Europe afterward. However, Cyber intervened in the brawl. Daken was approached by an anonymous messenger while traveling through the streets of Potsdam, Germany, who reminded him of his enraged master's final purpose. When Deadpool attempted to murder his father, Daken, he was wounded in the back of the head with a carbonadium bullet, which significantly reduced his healing factor and rendered him unconscious. After being taken to a cave someplace in Japan, filled with deformed relics of men used in different Weapon X tests, Daken lost most of his memory. When Daken awakened, he panicked and murdered the majority of the soldiers. Daken tried to explain who he was and what happened when Logan came, but he stuttered and stated he murdered the monsters because he felt threatened. Akihiro is a mutant of the second generation with abilities similar to his father Logan. Daken's cellular regeneration is quickened, which improves his natural strength, speed, agility, endurance, and reflexes. Daken possesses a fast healing factor that enables him to repair any injured, missing, or destroyed bodily tissues, cells, limbs, or organs quickly. Daken has also recovered from the injuries he had after being severely battered by the Thing in minutes. However, Daken's emotional condition can impact how quickly he recovers. His ability to heal has been limited in the past by underlying shame and other self-impeding psychological blockages, limiting his ability to repair harm. Daken has superhuman senses that are equivalent to or better than those of many animals. Daken's hearing has been strengthened similarly, allowing him to hear with incredible clarity across long distances and at frequencies outside the typical human range. Daken's nose can detect persons and items even when they are hidden. He can follow a target by scent even if the scent has been significantly destroyed by time and weather. Due to chemical changes in a person's fragrance, Daken can also detect falsehoods in a person's sentiments. Daken has 3 retractable claws, 2 of which come from between the skin of his first and third knuckles, and 1 from his inner wrist, all hidden behind the skin and muscle of his forearms. These claws are stronger and denser than regular human bone, and their natural form gives them a razor-sharp edge, capable of effortlessly slicing through flesh and bone, as well as metals as tough as Iron Man's armor. Daken exhibits empathic ferrokinetic skills, as well as the ability to hide his own smell to the point where even Wolverine's senses are unable to locate him. In addition to the capabilities he shares with his father and sisters, he can alter other species' emotional states and sensory perceptions with his pheromones, and he's been known to utilize this skill to inspire tremendous fear, happiness, despair, curiosity, and a false sense of security. The latter allows him to emerge apparently out of nowhere at times, allowing him to do damage before his opponent notices him. Daken has shown resistance to telepathy, and anybody seeking to enter his mind will be caught in a trap. His mind can also restore lost memories or reject fake ones. After being revived by the Apocalypse twins, Daken was given a death seed as the Horseman of Death. As a result, he was bestowed with the ability and capacity to become the new Apocalypse on Earth. Ogun, created by Chris Claremont and Al Milgrom. Ogun was a ninja and Wolverine's tutor at one point. He was a powerful telepath who could match Wolverine's quickness and combat abilities. Ogun debuted in Kitty Pryde and Wolverine issue 1, published in August 1984. Ogun joined the Japanese Imperial Army in the 1930s and encountered Wolverine for the first time in Shanghai, China, while Logan was still a sailor. Logan refused Ogun's invitation to learn martial arts at the Ogun Ryu Dojo in Kanazawa after being impressed by his bravery and stubbornness. Logan recalled Ogun's offer years later and traveled to Japan to improve his self-discipline. He spent years learning from Ogun there. Logan began to consider Ogun a doting parent as the two became friends. Ogun taught Logan how to unite his human and animal sides in order to become a great warrior during his training. He also educated Logan about samurai art and Sun teachings. Ogun and Logan were assaulted by a troop of ninjas led by the criminal lord Ogama Hana during one of their meditation sessions, who demanded compensation from Ogun for wrongdoings in the past. Before confronting Hana, Ogun commanded Logan to stand down and rapidly dispatched all of the ninjas. Their combat was violent and the warriors were evenly matched, but Ogun chose to drop his blade and mock Hana, who impaled him as a consequence. Ogun's eyes flared crimson and he began to chuckle when he withdrew Hana's sword from his stomach in front of an alarmed Hana, who begged for compassion, but Ogun decapitated him. Ogun's method included magic and psychism. He constructed a psychic clone of himself in the mind of one of his victims by recreating his entire existence in a psychic form and copying it into someone else. Logan left to seek forgiveness for his previous actions with Bando Saburo in Jasmine Falls, Japan. Kitty Pryde was the newest addition of the X-Men, who chose to follow her father to Japan after learning that he was dealing with criminals, but she was abducted and put under Ogun's mental control. Their struggle was intense, but Wolverine eventually defeated Ogun. Kitty was able to call the X-Men before she was kidnapped, and Wolverine flew to Japan to assist her. Ogun sent Kitty after him to deal with Wolverine, and she nearly killed him. Ogun was a strong sorcerer who could mystically bind individuals to his will and imprint his mentality onto their brains, erasing their original selves and replacing them with his own. Ogun's abilities also permitted him to age slowly, if at all, and sufficiently shielded him from most physical damage, allowing him to survive direct sword impalement through the chest. Ogun could take over the bodies of other sentient creatures as a spirit, usurping their mind and manipulating their bodies as if they were his own. He could create convincing illusions and raise the dead, among other things. Ogun was immune to physical damage since he lacked a bodily form. Ogun was an unrivaled martial artist, having mastered 13 systems, including his own, Ogun Ryu. He was also a great strategist and a master swordsman. Ogun communicated all of his abilities and wisdom to people around him in his spirit form. Lady Deathstrike. Yuriko Oyama, popularly known as the samurai warrior Lady Deathstrike, is an android with a self-repairing machine body and lethal adamantium claws. She is the child of Lord Darkwind, a psychotic Japanese tycoon who devised a method of creating superhuman soldiers by combining their bones with the unbreakable metal adamantium. Created by Dennis O'Neil and William Johnson, the character first appeared in Daredevil in issue 197 as Yuriko Oyama, and Alpha Flight in issue 33 as Lady Deathstrike. After her father died, Oyama felt determined to carry on his heritage. This caused her to grow enamored with Wolverine, dishonoring Oyama's father. Oyama gave up her humanity after becoming Lady Deathstrike by making a bargain with a beautiful witch Spiral and becoming a vicious cyborg like Wolverine. Deathstrike's hatred for Wolverine has driven her to form ties with nefarious characters, particularly Donald Pierce and his Reavers. William Stryker, the mutant-hating zealot, is also a personal friend of hers. Her exploits frequently bring her into conflict with Wolverine and the X-Men. Lady Deathstrike was recently targeted by a renamed Weapon X project, which was interested in capturing control of enhanced people to use as living weapons. After being rescued by a group of other victims, she became a member of Weapon X, a group that appropriated the moniker for themselves after their commander Sabretooth was killed. Following one final expedition, the organization disintegrated. Kira's death made her decide to continue on her father's legacy. Yuriko set out to find Bullseye, who had abandoned her father's service without remuneration. She accidentally discovered the mutant adventurer Wolverine by following his adamantium skeleton, which he had obtained through a procedure stolen from Lord Darkwind years ago. Lady Deathstrike, dressed as a samurai, led a group of her father's soldiers to Canada, where they battled Wolverine in an attempt to reclaim his adamantium skeleton, which was an unjust result of her father's research. Heather Hudson, Wolverine's longtime friend, beat her in her capacity as head of the Canadian super team Alpha Flight, when she had resumed the costume persona of Vindicator. Deathstrike recruited Donald Pierce and the Reavers as a part of a plan to reclaim the Reavers' base from Wolverine's companions, the X-Men, for revenge. The Reavers had been hidden in the Australian outback for days, preparing to kill Wolverine and the X-Men. Despite the fact that Lady Deathstrike's code of honor set her apart from the other Reavers, she became so immersed in their affairs that she developed an oddly abusive connection with Pierce. When the other X-Men were in the Savage Land, the Reavers attacked Wolverine and crucified him on an X-shaped cross. Wolverine was saved by Jubilee, a young mutant who took him in and cared for him. Pretty Boy, one of the Reavers, was approached by Lady Deathstrike, who used Wolverine's honor sword of the Yashida clan to destroy certain valuables. Deathstrike chased Wolverine alone, hoping to succeed after her failures with a team. Captain Schlachter and his soldiers attempted but failed to eliminate Lady Deathstrike. In a vortex, Gateway's abilities finally returned all of the time travelers to the present. As a result of allowing herself to be changed into a cyborg, Lady Deathstrike boasts a variety of superhuman abilities. Deathstrike's primary means of attack are her 10 extended razor-sharp fingernails, which can grow up to 12 inches in length. The claws are linked with adamantium, and just like her mechanical bones, allowing her to cut and puncture through any substance. Except for adamantium and Captain America's shield, her capacity to rip through a substance is proportional to the strength behind her strikes. Yuriko can also stretch her fingers and claws to incredible lengths to impale enemies from afar. Lady Deathstrike has received an update from Donald Pierce that allows her to quickly heal damage to both her cybernetic and biological components in a short amount of time. She has demonstrated that she can entirely mend cybernetic and biological tissue injured or killed by Wolverine's adamantium claws in just a few minutes. Her body's reconfiguration program takes longer to mend the more significant damage. Deathstrike is highly immune to telepathy and brainwashing tactics that exclusively target her human side because her awareness is part computer and can be stored up in non-organic data banks. Deathstrike can cybernetically connect her mind with external computer systems, enabling her direct data access to her brain's memory regions and allowing her to remotely control digital and computerized systems. Gorgon. The mighty Gorgon, Tomi Shishido, was the mutant who said his first words at the age of 2 weeks. He was able to walk at the age of 3 months and able to read and write by the time he was 1. He was recognized among the top 5 painters in contemporary Japan at the age of 4. He tried suicide for the second time at the age of 6 and had already composed his first opera. He discovered his condition as a mutant with the capacity to turn individuals he makes eye contact with into stone when he was 13 years old. As a result, he was called the Gorgon by the Japanese media. Thanks to his low-level telepathic abilities, he learned to fight and function being blindfolded. At this age, he devised a mathematical equation to prove the existence of God, which affected him deeply. He was unhappy with the very presence of God, as he concluded that if there is a God, then humans are his slaves. As a teenager, he formed the Dawn of the White Light, a mutant death cult, and at the age of 18, he murdered his family and sole true friend in order to attract the notice of the Hand, an ancient ninja clan and prove to them that he has no fear. Soon after murdering them, Gordon met the legendary Hydra agent, the Kraken, who provided him with the God Killer sword. The God Killer sword is one of the two blades that were forged at the behest of Zeus and Amatsu Mikaboshi when Olympians and Amatsukami went to war. This artifact would grant Gordon his destiny and the power to kill God. All this makes Gordon a formidable opponent for Wolverine. Gordon even wished to confront Wolverine and made the Hand kidnap the son of Ishiro Yoshida, the cousin of Logan's dead fiancée, Mariko Yoshida. Wolverine killed and obliterated every warrior of the organization until only Gorgon remained. Gorgon took down Wolverine by impaling through his chest while telling him that the boy is already dead. He later on, with the help of Baron Strucker, brainwashes Wolverine's memory and releases his body at South America, after which S.H.I.E.L.D. recovered him. Gorgon possesses a wide range of superhuman talents, some of which he acquired via natural genetic mutation, and others that were bestowed upon him mystically following his resuscitation by the Hand. Gorgon's main mutant skill is the ability to turn anybody who makes direct eye contact with him into stone, much like the Gorgon Medusa from Greek mythology. Gorgon has moderate level of telepathy, although its limitations are unknown. He can, however, converse with people mentally, as he did with Elektra. Even while he was blindfolded, Gorgon utilized his telepathy to mentally see everything around him. He usually sees his telepathy during fights to anticipate his opponent's offensive and defensive attacks. Shishido is also a polymath super genius who has excelled in a wide range of subjects throughout his life. He possesses an eidetic memory, which means he never forgets anything, and has a flawless recall, rapid reading, and strong deductive reasoning abilities, and he can process and interpret various information streams quickly. Physical strength was increased to near human levels. He could lift about a ton at his peak. He was said to have superhuman strength class 2. Gorgon has the ability to run and move at speeds that rival the best human athletes. Even with his enhanced senses of sight and hearing, he displayed bursts of speed that rendered him too fast for Wolverine to see, at least across short distances. Gorgon is a genius who possesses superhuman intelligence in a variety of creative and scientific fields. His sharp mind allows him to swiftly study and master a variety of combat arts. Even before his resurrection, he was a powerful opponent, a master of many martial arts techniques, and a master swordsman. Laser. Laser is a recent addition to Marvel's endless alter egos for death itself, principally a Wolverine enemy and an apparently perpetual nemesis whose origins and purpose are buried in mystery. Laser is an enigmatic supernatural entity that lives in a limbo-esque realm linked to Wolverine. Whenever Wolverine has a near-death experience, he is transported to this domain and forced to fight Laser ostensibly. If Wolverine ever lost one of these fights, he would die. So far, Wolverine has been able to keep Laser at bay, but the Angel of Death always returns, waiting for the day. Laser is a divine being with unimaginable power, most of which has yet to be revealed. He most likely possesses all of the abilities of an angel, combined with those of other death entities. However, like most forms of death, he appears to be bound by certain rules and conduct, and thus his infinite power is limited, if only by choice or cosmic law. Viper. Ophelia Sarkeesian, aka the Viper, had several other names like Madam Hydra, Madam Viper, Warrior White, and Princess. In the comics, Wolverine is her ex-husband. She made her first appearance in Captain America issue 110, published in November 1968, as Madam Hydra, and in issue 180 of the same comics in September 1974 as Viper. Created by Stan Lee and Jim Steranko, Ophelia was an orphan who was later recruited to the Hydra by the famous Kraken. She defeated every other potential agent, gaining the title of Viper and a place in Hydra's inner circle. On the island country of Madripoor, she worked as a mercenary for a time before becoming a student of the adventurer Seraph. Viper and Seraph later saved another student mutant crusader, Wolverine, from his arch-nemesis, the feral mutant Sabretooth. Wolverine was forced to swear an oath of fealty to Viper before Seraph died. Madam Hydra has made herself resistant to the majority of poisons by careful exposure. Viper is a skilled and crafty criminal tactician who has undergone extensive martial arts training. She's also an accomplished markswoman and a bullwhip adept. Viper is an expert at running criminal groups and has extensive connections in the international criminal underworld. She's also a master at espionage and stealth. Her influence, the financial resources at her disposal due to her status in organized crime, and her amazing ability to avoid death in situations where lesser individuals would have died are among her greatest assets. Viper is also an expert in the characteristics and applications of toxins, poisons, and snake venoms, frequently concocting her own poisons and disseminating them through hollow fangs or poisoned lipstick. Cyber, whose real name is Silas Burr, made his first appearance in Marvel Comics Presents issue 85 in July 1991, created by Peter David and Sam Keith. Silas Burr is said to have been born in Canada, while his exact birth date is uncertain. Burr himself said that he once ran with the legendary Edinburgh killer William Burke and participated in the terrible Westport killings of 1828. In the spring of 1912, while working for the Pinkerton National Detective Agency, he had his first documented exploit. Burr was arrested and accused with 22 charges of murder in Sioux City, Iowa. On all charges, he was found guilty and condemned to death by hanging. However, at the orders of the mysterious Romulus, Victor Creed, disguised as a guard, assisted Burr in escaping the courthouse while killing several others. After arriving from Indochina for 9 months in 1959, Burr would instruct Logan's son Dakin until the mysterious Romulus instructed the kid to demolish the training camp and everyone affiliated with it, including the commandant, Hudson. Dakin had torn to shreds and shot Burr and was about to fire one more bullet into his skull when Romulus came and stopped him, assuring Dakin that he had plans for Burr. Burr survived the procedure and became known as Cyber years later, thanks to Romulus's decision to connect the unbreakable metal adamantium to his skin. Years down the line, Silas Burr, now known as Cyber, joined a drug cartel and traveled to the island of Madripoor with a consignment of hallucinogens, hoping to enlist General Koi's help in delivering the drug across the island. He saw Wolverine while visiting General Koi's house. Burr confronted Wolverine and revealed his true identity. Cyber easily beat Wolverine and poisoned him thanks to his adamantium-laced skin, and his adamantium claws spiked with the same hallucinogenic medication he tried to sell to Koi. Tiger and General Koi were killed by Cyber when he tried to force them to buy his drug and kill both of them at the same time in order to set himself up in Madripoor. Despite this injury, Cyber was able to leap onto a nearby tree. Wolverine followed in order to finish him off, but Cyber got the upper hand and tried to rip Wolverine's claws off. Now inhabiting a deceased man's younger, sleeker body, Cyber lacks the many extraordinary physical features of his mutant bodies in the past, with the exception of donning a powered exo armor suit to compensate for his lack of true powers, save the ones he was given by a great demon who returned him to the living world after he was freed. Cyber's new body gives him the extra advantage of being a physically fit adult human male who exercises often, if not regularly enough. His new ship is tough, swift, and responsive enough to fight the Scarlet Spider several times. In his new form, Silas appears to have gained some physical strength. It's unclear whether this is due to a probable possession enhancement or if his muscular fibers and skin density have been changed in any way. What is certain is that he is capable of hurling a manhole cover with enough power to kill a person if it makes contact. Cyber keeps his innate psychic powers regardless of whatever body he inhabits. His consciousness is currently contained within the body of the dead Edward McDonough, as are all his mental abilities. Cyber's hands are equipped with 10 retractable adamantium claws, each of which has the invincible edge that comes with the material it's made of, allowing him to cut, penetrate, and or lacerate anything save adamantium and Captain America's shield. Cyber possessed extraordinary talents in his body, however the exact scope and quantity of his abilities are unknown. Cyber has disclosed that being exposed to the same chemicals and toxins that his adamantium claws were coated within his previous body significantly boosted the potency of his abilities, allowing him to follow anyone's brain pattern anywhere on the earth. His consciousness infiltrated the body of the childlike Milo Gunderson, replacing Milo's personality, cognition, and intelligence. It's unclear whether Cyber can take control of other people's bodies on a daily basis or just in extremely particular conditions. Bloodscream. The pseudo-vampire Bloodscream made his first appearance in Wolverine Volume 2, Issue 4, created by Chris Claremont and John Buscema. Bloodscream's original name is not revealed in the comics and is most likely believed to be Zachariah Ravenscraft, who was a surgeon. Once he had traveled to North America with Sir Francis Drake and his expedition ship in the early 17th century and was wounded in a confrontation with some indigenous people in Canada. Drake sought treatment from a tribal healer named Dagu. Dagu, on the other hand, instead of treating the surgeon who was clearly dying, cast an eldritch spell to imprison him between life and death, leading Zachariah Ravenscraft to transform into a vampire. Immortal and powerful, but constantly hungry. Bloodscream was shocked at his condition and assaulted Dagu, demanding that he stop the procedure. He needed the blood of another immortal, according to Dagu. Since then, Bloodscream had been on the lookout for such a person. He stalked battles worldwide for millennia, predicting that an unkillable man would choose to be a soldier. He took part in the Battle of Yorktown in 1781, which marked the conclusion of the American Revolutionary War. During the Napoleonic War, he fought Napoleon Bonaparte in the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805. In the 1860s, he joined the French Foreign Legion and served in Mexico and Sudan. He fought in World War I, was at Ypres, and fought in the Siege of Alcazar in 1936 during the Spanish Civil War, all without ever seeing his unaging man. Rowhouse, his occasional sidekick, and Bloodscream operated as enforcers for many criminal groups. He teamed up with Scylla Markham on a trip to Canada but drained her of her life to prepare for a confrontation with Wolverine. That conflict was won with a single drive-by strike from the Clan Yashida Honor Sword, a demon-forged weapon. Bloodscream was nearly killed. He joined Albert and LCD while still in Canada. The Black Tarantula hired Rawhouse and Bloodscream to abduct his son from his divorced wife. Peter Parker thwarted the conspiracy. Vermin, who recruited victims from Mauvace's consumption, subsequently became Bloodscream's handler. Later, he battled the Shadow Initiative and attempted to get the Venom symbiote. Bloodscream holds a variety of superhuman qualities comparable to those held by supernatural vampires as a result of Dagu's enchantment, despite the fact that he is not a genuine vampire. Bloodscream has the capacity to absorb other people's life force by touching their naked skin, leaving his victims' bodies shriveled and mummy-like, owing to uncontrollable bleeding from anywhere Bloodscream has touched him. Those who survive his touch bear a crimson scar in the shape of a hand. He can turn people who die as a result of the procedure into mindless, zombie-like beings that he can command to perform his bidding. Bloodscream's capacity to absorb the life force of other creatures is the source of all of his other superhuman abilities. Bloodscream is essentially immortal as long as he feeds on a regular basis. Since the enchantment was set millennia ago, Bloodscream has not aged and is impervious to all known earthly illnesses and infections. However, this does not rule out the possibility of Bloodscream's death. Bloodscream has limited shape-shifting skills, allowing him to morph into a more demonic-looking creature with an extended mouth and lengthened claws. Bloodscream is nothing more than a savage beast with a hungry desire for a victim's life force in this form. Wendigo. The Wendigo is the product of an old Elder God's curse that turns anyone who consumes another human's flesh in the Canadian wilderness into a gigantic fur-covered humanoid beast with teeth and razor-sharp claws. If a human is bitten by a Wendigo and survives, they might also inherit the Wendigo's curse. Because a Wendigo is said to be cursed to roam the woods until another picks up the curse, there is normally only 1 or 2 Wendigo at a time. But there have been more under specific circumstances. The Wendigo made its first appearance in Marvel Comics in Incredible Hulk issue 162, published in January 1973. 3 Canadians, Paul Cartier, Georges Baptiste, and Henry Clouzot, were hunting in the Canadian North Woods when wolves attacked them in the first known reported incidents of the Wendigo. Clouzot was badly wounded, so his companions brought him to a cave for protection. Clouzot died as the guy began to hunger. Cartier, on the edge of going insane, ate the flesh of the deceased guy. He was cursed and turned into the Wendigo as a result of his actions. Marie learned of Cartier's situation when the Hulk agreed to assist her in finding her lost brother. However, the Hulk located Baptiste instead and was unable to save Cartier. Baptiste and Marie eventually tried to transmit the curse onto Hulk, with whom Cartier had previously battled as the Wendigo. Marie calmed the Hulk before summoning the Wendigo. The Hulk awakened and assaulted the Wendigo before she could perform the necessary ritual. They were challenged by Wolverine, who the Canadian government had ordered to neutralize the Hulk in the middle of their fight. Together, Wolverine and the Hulk defeated Wendigo, but they fought as Marie readied the Wendigo for the intermediate product process. She then gassed the two fighters, transforming the Hulk back into his human form, Dr. Bruce Banner. When Baptiste saw Banner, he lost all will to help Marie pass the curse to the Hulk. Marie attempted to take Banner away, but he returned to the Hulk and fought Wolverine again. Baptiste crept into the cave where the Wendigo was hiding and finished the ceremony, transferring the curse from Cartier to himself and turning himself into the Wendigo. In the story, The Beast Within Them from Wolverine, Black, White, and Blood, written by Jerry Dugan and Adam Kubert, Wolverine was sent as a part of the Weapon X program into the wilderness to test his combat abilities against wolves, bears, or even humans. These were not much of a challenge for Wolverine, and things were going pretty easy until a Wendigo emerged from the woods and attacked Wolverine. The two exchange heavy blows and give everything they got. After a vicious fight with neither of them holding, Wolverine wins the fight and kills a mystical creature. Wolverine also faced a different version of the Wendigo in Uncanny X-Men issues 139 to 140, written by Chris Claremont and John Byrne. The Wendigo is a mystical creature that originates from the curse of the Elder Gods. Curse transformed any human into a gigantic humanoid species with white fur all over the body and sharp claws and teeth, as a Wendigo's regular senses are superhumanly enhanced. Being a Wendigo, one could hear sounds that are impossible for any humans to notice, see through long distances with clarity, and identify the smell of enemies from far distances. With superhuman strength, speed, and durability, the Wendigo also possesses regenerative healing factors and superhuman stamina. Wendigo is also considered immortal, unaffected by aging, or suffering from any earthly disease. Razor-sharp claws and fangs are an addition to the entire set of abilities. These fangs and claws can tear through almost any type of material and are thus weaponized during close combat. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.